You don't know what's out there.
That's why I would go.
Hi, and welcome back to Wild Dream, where we give you the freshest takes on the latest movies. My name is David.
My name's Daniel.
And
what the heck? What is this?
What is this podcast?
What are we recording a podcast right now?
We still do this?
I don't even know if I remember.
Who is they doing this? Who are they doing this for?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
I feel like the world was better without this shit.
I feel like everyone rejoiced for weeks on end, and we have to bring it back down to reality.
They said we're washed.
They said we're washed.
I'm just kidding. They said we're very washed. They called us the Aaron Rodgers of podcast. Fine fellow, that guy, though.
Of course. A lot of NFL quarterbacks would be fine fellows.
Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph probably,
I'd let
too.
you lead my sleigh, little reindeer.
Yeah. Nick Bosa is the
Nick
best
Bosa.
defensive player ever.
Nick Bofa. I call him Bofa what? I will dare you to ask. I gotta say, I have missed this so much. I really have. Like, I have felt the itch of like, I miss recording the pod. Because the thing is, we've been seeing movies still when we can, but it's just our schedule's been really booked. We have had no weekends. You just celebrated your birthday. Woohoo! To W.
That's right. I used to be a young, spry, youthful 27-year-old man.
God, those were the days.
Now I'm just a young, spry, youthful 28-year-old man. Ew.
Now, 27, 28, for those who are not sports fans, is usually when they project people to reach their absolute peak in sports. So when are you getting on that, buddy?
They're absolute... What now?
Yeah, happy birthday to Dave, and
thank you for all the birthday wishes. Thank you to our friends in the movie reviewing industry. Watch Get Plus for the birthday wishes. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, we love you, Jose.
Love you, Jose. I got a private message from him too on my actual birthday, so
he's the best.
He's the best.
We love Jose.
And for all of you guys, all the listeners out there who wished me a happy birthday, I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry that we had to take a little bit of time off, for that, because we had my birthday, and also I was back in our hometown of Dallas, Texas, for a few days visiting friends and hanging out. So, yeah. But like you said, we've still been seeing some movies that we should probably mention. Now, you did do a review on Instagram for 2 movies very recently.
That's right. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I forgot to post those to our highlights. So I'll make sure to get that added to our highlights so that you guys can watch that. But so as of the time of you listening to this episode, they'll be on our page. If you want to see my review, my quick little spoiler-free review of Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass, as well as The Invite, which has gotten a lot of buzz, very deservingly, then go see our highlights on our Instagram page, and you can see what I thought of those films. David has seen some films that I haven't been able to catch as well. I know that you went to go see Supergirl while you were in Texas.
Yeah, I did. It was not good. I pitched to Daniel for me to do a solo 3-hour-long episode about...
Speaking of the Odyssey.
Everything bad.
Oh, wait, we haven't announced what we saw.
Oh, we haven't announced what we saw.
Cut that. Okay.
Well, they don't know what the episode name is. You guys saw the episode name.
No, they don't know.
Stop pretending you don't fucking know shit.
We posted that.
Stop pretending you don't feel like you just fucking hit play and you don't even read the shit.
No. Didn't we post this episode with invisible ink where you have to...
Oh, fuck. Oh, we did. And there's a nude. So it's like... Now we're spoiling the nude. Fuck. No. Yeah, so I pitched that. I told Dan that I felt like I could genuinely do a 3-hour-long episode about a movie that is only about an hour and 40 minutes long. Just about how bad it was. And the saddest part about that whole experience was that it immediately got the exact same treatment as Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, where people went, this movie is bad, and everyone's like, you just don't like women. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I just don't like any movie that's ever had a woman in it. No one has ever liked a movie with. It's not about the quality of the movie. It's just that you hate women if you don't like a movie that was made poorly. I hate that narrative. I think it's such lazy and it's just such lazy and poor commentary on film. And it's like we kind of experienced that same thing with The Bride. There were people who were like, if you didn't like The Bride, you're just you're a misogynist that hates women, and we're just like, that's not the case at all. In fact,
I just like good movies, bro.
I just like good movies, and I think that one of the things that's most frustrating about it is that I actually do love women, and I love female superheroes, and I love when they get to be complex and have enriched stories that they've dealt with trauma and have made themselves stronger, and sometimes they're weak and sometimes they're strong, and they are deep, enriched, and fulfilled human beings and characters and people who have lived a life that is worth watching and caring about. And I'm actually disappointed in that movie because they nerfed this character's story to make her lesser and weaker and just like all these things that she's not. And I watched it with our buddy Timothy, who is a big fan of the comics and a really big fan of the comic series that this movie was specifically based on. And he was very disappointed about a lot of the things that they changed. And I will say this, this is not even, I'm not going to get all the way into it, but if you want to just hey, this is something they changed from the comics to the movies that was just a really poor decision. The artwork of the comics is really, really beautiful. I haven't read, I can't read comics. I don't even know how to read comics. I never have. But he was showing me all of this artwork and then the artwork from that same artist and her other books that she's done. And it's really beautiful. It's really intricate and detailed and colorful and all these different things. And then the color palette of the movie was poop, brown, dirt, dust. I was just like, what? What is that? But it's poop from a butt. That's the fucking color palette. It was just, there's so many things wrong with that movie. And if you really want to hear me, I will legit go on a 3-hour long rant about how bad that movie was. Come see us on Wild Dream Stream. Get me started on it. I will never stop. Yeah.
Make your voice heard if you want to. If you want that, let us know because we will provide.
We will.
But for today's sake and for brevity's sake, I just wanted to get us a little bit of a recap. Let us know, hey, we've been gone for a little bit. Here's some of the movies we watched.
Now, we did go see a movie together. That was Maddie's Secret.
Maddie's Secret.
That is one of the best sleeper movies of the year.
It really is.
Maddie's Secret is a movie by John Early, who is honestly one of our favorite comedians. We've been following his career for a long time, I should say. And
yes.
He's been someone that we've called a sleeper comedian as well because his episode. So he has an episode on a TV show called Characters, where every episode was a different comedian getting to do their own sketch comedy show, and that is Tim Robinson did an episode of that show. It was kind of the catalyst for him doing I Think You Should Leave, and then a bunch of people from Characters ended up on I Think You Should Leave, including John Early. Yeah. So John Early had, in my opinion, the second best episode of that series to Tim Robinson. And then, of course, Kate Berlant, who is also clearly just friends with John Early because everything he does, she's in, and vice versa.
Yeah.
She also had an episode on Characters, and she's in this movie. So going into it, we knew the movie was going to be funny, obviously, and it has a really specific style of humor that I think is so unique and special, and it's just not for everybody. In terms of most people might not even tell that they're being funny or that they're being sarcastic or that they're poking fun or whatever. And but because we know John Early and we know his style of comedy and how he subverts expectations and how he does satire, it was really funny to us. And then of course Connor O'Malley's in it, and when is he ever not funny? So it was while it was a good movie that was really funny, it was also a really, really good, down-to-earth representation of some really serious things in life. It was a good commentary on, social media and how that influences people's, self-esteem, and how, eating disorders affects different people and how they can arise, and just also this idea of generational trauma and how people deal with, and how social media can affect how you perceive yourself based on your personal trauma. So it's really complex and deep in that way. And you wouldn't expect that going into it, with this being a movie made by a comedian.
For sure. I think there's so much to appreciate about Maddie's Secret. It's one of the movies that I would just be telling everyone to go check out because of how it contains multitudes. And I think that there's so much to like and attach to in that movie, whether it's the comedy, whether it's the drama, whether it's the acting, whether it's the amount of actual food in the movie. And if you're a foodie and like seeing some of that stuff get made, some of these recipes, it's actually interesting.
Yeah.
But also you really fall in love with a lot of characters in that movie.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't expect to fall in love with. I love the choice of Eric Rahill being the love interest in that film and showing that type. I was really impressed by his performance as well because he also plays dramatic.
Yeah.
And I just love the intentionality of casting someone with his body type in that film and getting to see he's kind of the male lead in that movie.
Right, in a way, yeah.
In a way. And you don't see male leads that are built like that, and it's a shame because he is a very beautiful person.
Yeah.
And he's a very
attractive.
Yeah, he's a very attractive guy, but we don't get to see that, kind of representation a lot. So there's just so much to appreciate that movie for. It's crazy for a movie like that, especially with its tone. It has a very specific tone that's hard to describe.
Yeah.
And with that tone for that movie to make you get emotional, which it does.
Yeah, I literally started tearing up and crying at a certain point in the movie.
It's very impressive, and it has some incredible directing, incredible acting, incredible writing.
Oh, yeah.
Of how to show some very serious, deep-rooted problems and issues that are portrayed so well on screen and feel realistic, even in this surrealist tone.
Yeah.
So... yeah, Maddie's Secret was great. I really loved Maddie's Secret, and I hope a lot of people go see it.
Yeah, but, for me, it is very similar to Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, in that like it's a movie that is made by comedians and is very funny, but you can tell that it's a passion project. You can tell that there was a lot of heart and thought put into this project that is just so wonderful to see when you have creative people that you admire and that you love, and you get to see them put a lot of time and effort and energy into something and have it turn out so well. It just makes my heart happy for John Early because I've been a fan of his for so long, and I've known he's hilarious, and not everyone knows how hilarious he is. And it's, I'm like, oh yeah, I know you guys have seen him on Search Party, but it's like, did you watch his set on The Meltdown, back on Comedy Central? And like, what I'm saying? Like back when they did one season of that show, like that's how long, I've been watching his stand up. And so, yeah, I love that, he was able to do that.
Yeah, his little Britney Spears impression and stuff too. Yeah, he really disappears into that character too, because within the first 20 minutes, you will forget that John Early is playing the titular character.
Yeah,
titular character. And he really disappears into that character. And I was very impressed. And it's a good movie. Go
see it.
Go see The Invite. Go see Gail Daughtry in the Celebrity Sex Pass. Do not go see Supergirl, but please listen to and request Dave to make a whole episode of deconstructing. I love the idea of that because you and Timothy, frankly, we
should do it together.
You'll have a great perspective to deconstruct this surface level bullshit rebuttal of, oh, you just don't like it because you don't like women. It's like, no, let me give you an entire podcast episode to completely deconstruct that and tell you why this is a bad film.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea of that.
And let me tell you how much we love women. And Timothy can tell you how he has been reading comic books drawn by women of women superheroes and comic books written by women of female superheroes and has loved them for so long that his disappointment with how you portrayed that woman is his number one complaint. Mm-hmm. Like that is something that I'm like, you guys are when I hear especially for these movies Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, when they kind of did the same thing. This is what some people will say. They'll say, well, if you didn't like the movie, then it just wasn't for you. I'm like, who am I? Are you talking about comic book fans? This comic book movie is not for comic book fans? Like, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. Of course it's for us. It is for us. Yeah. No, the movie is made for women. And I'm like, women who like not even women who like comic book movies, because if they like comic books, they're not going to like this movie. It's just for women in general. And I'm like, so patronizing. I hate that shit.
Right.
Anyways, so that gets us into what we went to go see this week, and that is
The Odyssey.
The same movie that everyone went to go see this weekend. Obviously, this movie is the biggest spectacle of the year. Everybody has been talking about it. We've had tickets for 5 months.
That's true.
To go see this movie. And yeah, I mean, there is a lot to discuss about this movie. There's a lot to discuss about Christopher Nolan, who has this, otherworldly aura and pull in the film industry, which, deservedly so for the majority of his career, having put out movies where you could argue that he's never had a bad movie. If somebody said that, I wouldn't, say no to that. I have some personal issues with Christopher Nolan. I don't love everything that he does and stands for. I think that we should celebrate digital filmmaking because it allows low-budget filmmakers to tell stories in a really beautiful way. And I think that when you say movies can only be good and perfect if they're shot on film, I think that's wrong. That's why Obsession is one of the best movies of the year.
Classism.
It's very classist, and I think it just undermines what people are able to accomplish by saying, just I'm not saying that he's wrong for loving to shoot on film. Of course, if you can afford it, do it. But I think that we shouldn't be, poo-pooing on digital filmmaking because of what it's allowed a lot of young and up-and-coming filmmakers to do. I also don't love his, stance on everything being practical all the time, or just in general, the film industry promoting movies as if everything practical is like this huge accomplishment. Just mostly because we have some of the best artists in the world working in the film industry. The CGI and graphic artists that work on films that are able to accomplish unbelievable things should be praised and should be rewarded and should be hired. And we should not be using AI to replace them in any capacity. And we are, because people don't respect them enough. And I think that sometimes when we have those conversations about like, oh, everything was practical, that means it was better. Like, I hate that narrative. And I know that he's a big proponent of that. Like, no, everything practical all the time.
And we are on this podcast a lot. Like, we are.
Practical?
Yeah. The amount of times we've praised stuff for being practical and it looking better and being better for the film. I think that's like a common thing.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, especially for the horror industry. And,
yeah.
And, we need to be better about that too.
But I see what you're saying. You're saying the pendulum can swing too far.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, to where it's like, oh, when we're going to destroy a boat and have it sink into the ocean, let's actually build a boat and let's actually break it in half and actually sink it. I'm like, that's a little bit different than when we shoot this guy, we're going to have CGI blood come out. I'm like, why just have real blood? So it's like, yeah, it's a fine balance, but at the same time, it's like, we want to praise and reward and appreciate what graphic artists are able to incorporate into film to elevate it. But with that said, I do think that Christopher Nolan is a phenomenal filmmaker. Now the fact that he doesn't use email, a little pretentious, right? It's a little bit of what, look at me, hero complex. I don't use email, but I don't have to be friends with him to enjoy his movies. I don't think that he and I would get along, and I think he would probably agree if he listened to this podcast. But he is an incredible filmmaker. He did make an incredible film that uses innovative and new technology that we have never seen. For those of you who don't know, and I'm going to kind of go over this really quickly because I wonder if some people are confused about why this movie is being so much promoted around this IMAX camera that was created. Traditionally, IMAX cameras are massive, so they're extremely heavy, they are extremely loud, and they overheat very quickly. So to use them, it's very expensive. You have to have a huge crew, and you can really only do like exterior, big, wide shots, that aren't going to have a lot of dialogue or anything like that in them. And you can only shoot for a couple of minutes, like maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. That might even be too long traditionally. Maybe like a minute and a half of actual filming before you have to stop. So they have created a new camera for this movie that allowed them to shoot the entire movie on IMAX. And they also created a whole blimp system, an entire cage that goes around the camera to dampen the sound so they can actually film dialogue scenes with this IMAX camera. So the creator of this camera, and he unfortunately passed away before the movie came out. Now, luckily, he did get to see, the final prints of the movie. So you got to see what they had accomplished together. But it is a marvel in innovation. It is a huge, step forward in the evolution of filmmaking that we all get to be alive for and get to see. And I think that that's a great accomplishment. And I think that I cannot wait to see even more talent, like not more talented, but you know what I'm saying, even more filmmakers who are extremely talented and have incredibly, special creative visions and what they're going to be able to do with this technology moving forward.
For sure. I think it is special. I think imagine being one of those people that was around for when film finally got sound.
Right.
It's like, wait, what? Film technology has evolved. Like films have sound now. Like that is like the magnitude we're speaking of. This is going to change the industry. This is huge.
Yeah, like we lived through the going from 720p to 1080p and 1080p to 4K, and now we're filming entire movies in IMAX. Like that's a huge leap.
Huge. Yeah. So it is pretty crazy. That's why it's being marketed that way. That's why it's such a huge conversation. And yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that.
So one of the things that we definitely want to mention up front about this movie is that, and I know, Dan, you've talked about this, that you have seen an unbelievable number of takes, especially like through the Twitter community, just on every still from the movie that has come out, every trailer, everyone has an opinion because so many people are familiar with this original text. Exactly.
This is, the Odyssey is a big deal. It's this 1,000-year-old poem. It's this very well-renowned story, and it's where the word Odyssey comes from, right? So it's like, it's a huge deal. I remember it being required reading for me in high school. I don't remember anything about it. I remember at the time thinking it was so boring because I was a teenager. I was a 16-year-old kid who was, funny enough, at that time I was like, the Dark Knight freaking rules.
I don't give a freak about these Odyssey bullshit.
So, and I've just never really connected very much with Chosen One stories, and that's a part of it. And that's also something to keep in mind with any kind of these reviews for films that have stories that are like, he was a chosen one. And I'm like, oh, this white guy who's attractive? Yeah, that's real fucking convenient. So a lot of that is part of it for me, where I'm just like, man, I don't know. How do you connect with this? And how do you not see through the fallacy of it? And so I'm getting, what I'm trying to say is there are people that might connect with this film going, this is an incredible film because it is an incredible adaptation of the Odyssey, of the original text. Or they might be, this film fucking sucks because it's an awful adaptation of that story I love, right? I am saying I have no connection to that story, so my takes on this film are completely excluding that.
Yeah, I mean, me going into it, I was like, this movie has to live up to another movie that's an adaptation of the Odyssey, which is one of the greatest achievements in cinematic history and a marvel, and that is the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. So the original one that we grew up with is an adaptation of the Odyssey. So and I understand, like, even Christopher Nolan, like, no one's going to live up to that. Like, nobody's going to live up to this, to the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. You can't expect them to. I mean, this movie's going to flop if you just put them side by side. But we are here to review what we saw. Okay? Exactly. And we're not here to compare it to other masterpieces like the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. We are here to review the Odyssey. So we are going to talk about the movie that we saw on screen and the story that as we perceived it, as we watched it. And I know this year we have done a couple of reviews where we have compared it to the original text. This is not going to be one of them, especially because when you start to say original text, then the internet goes, which original text?
So which interpretation? Yeah. Which reimagining? Which way?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, okay.
It's too much.
We're not going to get into that. This isn't Wuthering Heights where there's kind of just the one, come on. So yeah, I mean, I think that, one of the things that I have to bring up right off the bat is my expectation for this movie going into it was perfection. And I think that is because of how much the movie is hyped up. And that's not fair to this movie. And I'm trying to squash that, idea in my head. But for a movie that was so heavily promoted around the technical aspects of the movie, for a movie that was like, we invented a new type of camera so we could film everything on IMAX, and we did all these different things to have all these practical effects, and we had, actors drowning in the ocean for 16 straight days and resuscitating them just so that we can shoot this movie, blah, blah, blah. And then you go and you watch the movie and there's shots out of focus. There's a focus pull that doesn't work. There's poor editing decisions. There's bad audio dialogue and bad clipping. of audio, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and the thing is it's like, you know, like I think Monkey Man is a good example of a movie that I had complaints of Monkey Man for the same reason. I was like, oh, the editing is bad and these shots are out of focus, and then this is like, you know, poorly positioned and poor, you know, camera work or whatever. And I was like, but that movie is shot on like GoPros and shit, and they ran out of money. And I try to give it a little bit of leeway, where it's like, I can't give this movie that same leeway. Like when I see something that's poorly done, you know, or poorly executed from a technical aspect, I'm like, there's zero fucking excuse for you. Like you had all the money in the world all the time. You're Christopher fucking Nolan. You could have done that shot again and made it in focus, you know? So it's like, I can't give it that leeway. So it just pisses me off even more when in the first 20 minutes, some of the editing is so bad it was nauseating. Right.
Yeah, I think that's some of the stuff you have to bring up first before we kind of get more into this spoiler-free review is, yes, there's I can't shake it from my mind, this scene of two characters talking in a little dining hall. And within like 3 lines of dialogue, there's been like 8, 9, 10 cuts.
Right.
It's when you say nauseating, that's so correct. And I think that it was really frustrating to watch. It's hurting my head going like, what can I watch them talk and finish their line before you cut? Like, please. Especially because it's like over the shoulder, cut to over the shoulder to the other character, cut to wide shot of them both in frame, cut to just head-on shot, cut to reverse of that head-on shot. I'm like, oh my fucking God, please stop cutting for a second. Can I please just
and the lack of continuity between them too. I'm like, the characters are not facing the right way. They're not, you know, the people in the background aren't in the same spot. I'm like, so we're doing bad continuity in a movie with a fucking infinite money?
Yeah, or like, and then that's too, it like breaks the immersion because then they are cutting to a over the shoulder of Robert Pattinson's character, and what he was saying in the other shot is not what he's saying in this shot, so his mouth doesn't match the movements.
Right.
You're breaking immersion so early on that it's worrisome. Yeah. And that brings me to the whole fact that the opening of the movie, the very first character you see and the very first character you hear is such a bad performance. It's one of the worst. It's the second worst performance in the whole movie. I'll get to in spoiler talk, I'll get to the worst, my least favorite performance. And it is very nitpicky, but I don't care. I believe it. It's just it's a casting of celebrity for celebrity's sake.
Right.
I'm like, this is starting your film, dog. This is starting your film. It's setting the tone.
Right. And it's a character that could have been literally anyone.
Anyone.
It could have been anyone. But we wanted to sell the movie with names on a screen, so we got someone who's not a good actor because they're famous.
Because they're famous. It's off, and it sets your movie off so poorly. I was like, this fucking sucks. I was so worried in the first 20 minutes of the movie that this movie was going to suck. I was very worried. Now, it's only 20 minutes. Usually 20 minutes is a fucking good chunk of a film. However,
for a Christopher Nolan movie,
for a 3-hour epic, it's really not that much. So yeah, just getting that off the bat. There's some stuff that happens later. Like you said, there's some sound mixing issues here and there. They also do this thing throughout the movie that we talk about a lot of how we hate it. They insult the intelligence of the audience constantly in this movie. They think every time that they'll mention something, they then cut to a shot we've already seen of that going, right. Remember this? Remember? That's what this is.
I understand it's a 3-hour movie, but your movie would have to be 5 weeks long.
Yeah, for me to
actually forget what happened at the beginning.
Exactly.
It's a there's never been an excuse. There's never been a movie where I was like, oh, thank God they showed that because I forgot.
Right.
You know, it's not like in Saw when they do it, they're showing you shit you didn't already see. They're like, remember at the beginning of the movie, this is what actually happened. Like, that's a little bit different. So, like, but this is like the typical wild dream. Remember when a person did this earlier in the movie, and now that this person sees this person again, let's cut to the last time they saw each other.
Yeah, like they're not even cutting to a different angle of the scene.
Right.
They're cutting to the shot they already showed us. I'm like, yeah, I know. All right, man.
Yeah.
So it's fucking annoying, and they do it a lot. But a big part of the way that this movie is filmed and presented too is this very weird, like, I guess it makes sense because of the original text and what I remember of it, but it's a lot of people telling stories of and then cutting to.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So like,
Family Guy,
I would, hey Lois, it reminds me of the time that we went to sail the sea, and then they cut to, it's like, but yeah, it is a lot of that. So, mid conversation, a character would be like, oh, like, yeah. And it reminded me of this. I was on the sea. Boom, we cut to a shot of the sea. So it's very dreamlike, and it does it a lot. And so it tries to blend in by going, and then this specific object that is very memorable and recognizable, and then they cut to when it was first given. It's like, remember? I'm like, yes, I remember. So you can't.
Like, as if I couldn't realize that the person you casted to look exactly like Robert Pattinson was Robert Pattinson's character when he was younger.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of time jumping in this movie.
You fucking cut to Edward Cullen, and I'm like, that's obviously Robert Pattinson as a kid. Like is that the character who has the exact same name no one has ever been named ever as the other character who's also has that same name? They're the same person?
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
So it's a lot of that. There's a lot of insulting to the audience type of filmmaking in this. And so that was very annoying. But what I really came out of the theater thinking was, look, I have my qualms with this film. We're getting into them. But what I remember... what I'm going to remember of my experience watching this film is going to be the positive stuff that worked way more than the negative stuff that didn't work. And I also thought the movie was pretty good, but the theater experience was great. I thought it was awesome. It was such a time well spent.
Yeah. I mean, that is very similar to how I feel about Oppenheimer. Like, I own Oppenheimer because my wife loved that movie and saw it 3 times in theaters, and I own it in 4K. And I personally have little to no interest in sitting down and watching another, 3-hour biopic movie. So it's like, but I loved seeing that movie in the theaters. It was an awesome experience, and that's kind of what Christopher Nolan is known for. It's like, the best way to watch his movies is in theaters. If you hadn't seen Interstellar in theaters, then you did miss out. I can actually say that. And a lot of his movies are that way. And in fact, me and Daniel saw all 3 of the Batman movies in theaters. We were opening, like, back when we were poor and couldn't afford A-list type stuff, before A-list even existed.
Back when we were poor. Yeah, we're rich now.
Back when we were kids and we didn't go see movies all the time, we did make time for the Dark Knight movies. The Christopher Nolan Batman movies in general. So, yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan movies are made to be watched in theaters, and he is the one who does that. So, obviously, the theater experience lived up to that hype. Mm-hmm. There were so many moments where my chair... We saw this in the Dolby, by the way. If you're wondering what of the 15 formats we went to go see it in, it was Dolby. We're really big into audio. We think that audio is equally as important, if not more important, in the telling of a story a lot of times. So... a movie like this feels more epic to me when I'm hearing a more epic version of it, more so than seeing a more epic version. So that's why we opted for Dolby. And there were moments where my chair was shaking and I had to plug my ears, but it wasn't moments of the movie where I was like, in real life, if I were there, I would need to plug my ears. This would be so loud, it would be deafening. And that's, so I was like, not necessarily a bad thing. And as a theater experience, it was very immersive in that way. Mm.
Yeah, to get a little bit more specific in a spoiler-free way, as we keep talking about this, I thought there were some incredible sequences in this film, and I'm really surprised, so surprised at the couple of multiple elements of just straight up horror movie that this is.
Oh yes, that's probably some of my favorite aspects. I was like, not Christopher Nolan doing a horror movie. Yeah. What the fuck? There's whole little horror short films in this movie.
Exactly. That's what I really appreciated about some of the sequencing of this movie, was that it felt like little short films and shorts.
Helped with the pacing a lot.
It did a ton. Because I will say, for this being as long as it was only rarely, I mean, it happened, but it was rarely that I was like, all right, are we getting to the end here? They did it very well.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like straight up just what you expect from horror, something lurking in the shadows type of horror. There's body horror in this. There's dreadful, almost gothic type of horror in this. And so the scale of this movie feels massive, and it does such a good job at making this a spectacle. Loved that. Loved the different tones and world you get to see in this movie, the mysticism, the magic. There's just so much to chew on. It's awesome in that way. I thought that's what I mean when the theater experience was just incredible. You really get to go to some crazy worlds in this.
Yeah.
I do think that there I see, when you talk about like the discourse around this movie, it's like people have had takes and opinions about still shots that were released. Then the trailer comes out and it's like the whole saga of everyone getting mad about him calling him dad instead of father. I think if you are really familiar with the source material and you are very ingrained in the time period that this should be taking place in, I think you are going to have a lot of rightful issues with this film. There's only one of them that bothered me. I'll talk about it in spoiler talk, but that's what I'm saying is you're going to have a lot to be mad about. The only one that rubbed me the wrong way was one thing in this movie, so there it is.
Yeah.
But if you just look at it from an outside perspective of not being tied to those and just enjoying the ride for what it is, and if you don't have as much attachment to that, like me, for instance, and so like I have no idea what they would have worn in the time period this takes place. I don't know what kind of sandals they would have. I don't know.
We don't even know how to refer to a father figure because we don't have one. So who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about this Nepo baby and how he refers to his daddy, the Odyssey?
Yeah.
Odysseus.
So yeah, the movie, the way it's sequenced, all these different sequences and stuff that they have are so fun. The third act becoming like I said, there's a lot of horror, then there's a lot of drama, then there's a lot of it's very dreamlike. Like I said, there were a lot of filmmaking techniques in this that reminded me of Terrence Malick. And then in the third act of the movie, that's when it goes like, hey, this is kind of like a superhero action movie now. And even that was enjoyable. Like I was like, this is really fun. And what I was most impressed by is like, again, it's like, this is a spectacle, this is cool, but I'm not relating emotionally to really anything. That's a hyperbole, but there's just not a lot for me to relate to. So the whole movie, I was like, this is cool, but I don't know.
I think that the stardom of the movie kind of hurts that element of it too. It is kind of hard to. It is difficult to see these characters really take on this role when I'm also like, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne, like in my head, Like there were moments in the movie where I was like, wait, is Batman going to start a fight with Spider-Man? It's like, yeah, because fucking Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland are in the same scene together. Like, it's like, and I'm like, wait, this is Batman. He's trying to get with Catwoman. So that should work out because it's Anne Hathaway who was in another Christopher Nolan. It's just like there are so many fucking massive stars in this movie.
Spider-Man and Mary Jane are both in this.
Spider-Man and Mary Jane are both in this, and she's also in Dune, which is another spectacle type movie. And then it was so many. And then the Punisher's in the fucking movie.
The Punisher's in this.
It just goes on and on.
The celebrity overload, it really did. It hurt the movie. I'm sorry, but it did. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it did. It hurt the movie, and it hurt the believability. That's just how do you ingrain yourself and being able to like have suspension of disbelief. This is one of those things that blocks you from being able to do that. Is a celebrity overload. Even tiny, small, little characters that barely have a line or two are a celebrity.
Yeah, so it's like Mia Goth's character. I remember telling Dan, I was like,
I forgot she was in the, that's how.
I hate the fact that Mia Goth had one of the best performances of the decade in Pearl, and everything since then. They're like, hey, you want to play this terrible character in a shit script? It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, and then she gets put in a movie like this, and it's like, oh, okay, now she's working with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, and whatever. and she's going to play a role that is so unbelievably insignificant that anyone off the fucking street could have played.
Yeah.
I'm talking, you could have walked down to LA, thrown a fucking rock, first person you hit, hey, come in here, play this role.
Exactly.
It did not need to be the girl who played Pearl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? It just made no sense, you know? Like, even like, and I feel bad about this too. Like, Lupita Nyong'o's character, you know, she technically plays two different characters, you know, that are sisters, but like that character, an under 5, by the way, for Lupita Nyong'o, it's like, that's insane. And also a character that is just there to be pretty most of the time. So I'm like, you could have just gotten like a famous model to play this character, and it wouldn't have mattered at all, you know? And it's like, I'm not saying, oh, she did a bad job, she shouldn't have been that. But what I'm saying is, you didn't get her because you needed her for this role. You got her because of her name, and then that helps you add to this fucking cast list. Like, it just, so many characters that would be above the line actors, star power actors, that are like fucking under 5s in this movie. It's just, it's silly.
Which is so funny about the discourse before the movie came out. You get all these fucking racist incel losers, these transphobic losers who are like, you can't have a trans actor play this insert character name. It's hard to remember them all.
Honestly.
Lupita Nyong'o is going to be the Helen of Troy. This is who people are lining up for to risk their life for this. And I'm like, yes, she's beautiful. What are you talking about? But it's just pure bigotry, pure racism, pure transphobia.
It's the people who think that fucking Sydney Sweeney should play every character.
And then it turns out that these characters that they're so fucking up in arms about have less than 10 minutes of screen time
in a 3-hour movie.
I'm like, you guys look so fucking stupid. It's insane. But yeah, it's like, it's just there is an over celebrityfication in this movie that really takes you out of the film, especially if you do have qualms with some of the more focused stuff of what they're wearing doesn't match the time frame and the accents and the way that they speak. I think that there's a happy medium to be met. And that's why, here's my pitch. Okay. I think Christopher Nolan's next period piece, he needs to collaborate with Robert Eggers. Robert Eggers. He needs to collaborate because I think Robert Eggers is too far in the other direction.
Right.
He makes The Witch, and I have to use subtitles because I'm like, what the fuck are they saying?
Right.
And then Christopher Nolan, they're like, yo, I heard Odysseus is coming to town. I think that shit's cap. I'm like, all right, let's see. You know, that's obviously hyperbole.
What's up, guys? It's your boy from Greece.
Yeah. So they need a happy. So I think they should collab. I really do.
And they're both going to love not using phones together.
That's true. So that's
they would get along so well.
That's my pitch. Robert Eggers and Christopher Nolan need to collab on a project, and it might be the best movie we've ever seen.
That is actually so true. Yeah, especially because, and then Christopher Nolan tells stories better than Robert Eggers does. But then, I mean, that is such a good idea. I would love to see that combination of filmmaking together. And then we'll do that, and then we'll have Quentin Tarantino write the script, so literally none of it is historically accurate at all, and nothing that happens in the movie actually happened. Then we'll add another celebrity into the cast because obviously Quentin will need to be in it.
Oh,
and right, then, of course. And then he'll have to use the N-word somehow.
For the story, of course.
Right.
The shot of Helen of Troy's feet is going to be incredible.
It's going to be incredible.
I was saying earlier, like, the third act becomes this action movie, and how, like, up to the third act, I was like, I don't really know what to relate to in terms of story. This is where Christopher Nolan's specialty really shines, in my opinion. Here's the heart. Here is the human emotion. Here's what transcends any kind of story beats of war and like kind of shallow stuff, right? Because then he turns it on its head and goes, here is how you relate to the story universally. Just this is human emotion. He nails it. And I'm like, oh, and I started to really feel something in this third act. So it does kind of really earn its runtime. I think that you get it similar to The Irishman, where it's like, what is this all for? And it's like, this is what it's all for. I think it earns its runtime because it's only 3 hours of a movie, but then it's like Odysseus's journey is years and years and years. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, got it. This is how you do it. So I was really glad that I got to this emotional level to where I started to actually feel something overwhelmingly emotional and connecting to it. And it's like, how am I supposed to connect to a god, or and some of these gods, or how am I supposed to connect to some of these characters and some of these characters? I'm like, how am I supposed to connect to this? And then it's like, oh, got it.
Yeah.
So there is a revelation for me in this.
Yeah, I think that the way that the story is told is done very well to help that runtime. I do think it does earn its runtime. Christopher Nolan is a director who earns his runtime in general, partially because he only comes out with a movie every couple of years. Like when Kendrick drops an album like once every 3 years, we don't care if it's 18 tracks long. It's like, yeah, you've earned 18 plus tracks for whatever you want to do. That's kind of how I am with Christopher Nolan. It's like, yeah, however many hours you're going to make this movie, then fine, because we're probably not going to see you for another 3-4 years while you work on your next thing. So yeah, I mean, I think most of us are pretty okay with that. I think that, the reason why I bring up the negative stuff, why we talk about that, why that becomes such a big part of this, is because you don't need us to then tell you that a lot, like 95% of this movie is phenomenal. You know who Christopher Nolan is. You know what the perception of this movie is going to be, and you know that it's not possible that this movie sucked. That's just not a reality that was going to ever happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, oh yeah, we didn't think this movie was perfect, and that was the expectation. So let me tell you guys, it wasn't perfect. But obviously it didn't fucking suck. It was not a bad movie. And yes, I would watch it again. And I would love to take Taylor to it. Taylor's going to fucking love this movie, guys.
I think she will too.
She loves Greek mythology. She loves Christopher Nolan. That is her goat, So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people like that who are just going to look at this movie and go, wow, this movie was perfect to them.
And she's such a literary person. She's a fan of literature. So she's going to really love that as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I there was a little bit in that third act where I'm just like, yes, I can actually like feel some human emotions, and I can see this. I'm really thinking about this movie, and it's hard to give like a just take on it. It is really difficult. I've been really stewing in my head like what to give on it. That's why I'm excited to get in spoiler talk. Let's talk it out. Let's talk about these sequences. Let's talk about the movie as a whole in a very detailed way so that we can figure it out, because I don't really know how to feel about it. It's weird. It's it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think that it's time to get into some spoiler talk. For those of you who don't know, we had a video went pretty viral.
I would say,
I'd say pretty viral.
Pretty insanely famous.
Pretty insanely famous video.
We're talking tens and tens of likes.
Where we are doing a bit around the popcorn bucket. And if you want a little hint into the spoiler alert mention, why don't you go take a look at the shirt I'm wearing in that? And if anybody recognizes that, you get a prize.
And how it relates to this film? We're geniuses.
We're geniuses. Now, I will say what's funny about that video being so popular right now, that is not the popcorn bucket I got. I got the IMAX camera shaped popcorn bucket. Apparently, that was not even like originally planned. That was something they threw in at last minute, and they didn't even have a lot of. And I got that one. It was actually cheaper than the horse bucket.
Nice.
But yeah, that was a funny video. That was fun to film. But the popcorn bucket I actually got is so awesome for my collection. It looks amazing, and it has an electrical element to it, which I love, having popcorn buckets with a little battery in them that do a little fun thing.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
So yeah, and also the Odyssey, by the way, guys, the only popcorn bucket in the Wild Dream popcorn bucket collection that has been actually used to hold popcorn in it. Fun fact. So there you go. It's time to get into
the rundown.
Fuck.
Of this 3-hour film. Okay, so before we get into the rundown, I'm going to bring up some funny Odyssey tweets that I've seen to kind of, because we've just talked about this film and of kind of...
Welcome to Daniel's Funny Tweet Corner.
Funny Tweet Corner. I thought I had 3 tweets for you, but I have 4 because I just opened Twitter, and the first tweet in my feed is John Early tweeting #the Maddie C, #Oddie's secret. So it's kind of funny that we mention his new film in the spoiler-free talk and recap. All right, here are my 3 tweets for you. I got Odyssey this, Odyssey that, you Odyssey a therapist. Like that one. And that was tweeted by Jared Gilman, the star of Moonrise Kingdom. All right, this second Odyssey tweet. No, babe, it only looks small because you're not looking at it in 70 millimeter.
You're missing a lot from the top and bottom.
And then my final funny tweet about the Odyssey, and this is good for spoiler talk so we can have some context of why it's called the Odyssey. It's called the Odyssey because the audience will see it. So there we go.
I just
there
got
you go.
that.
There you go.
This is how, and this was all written by the guy from The Simpsons, right?
100%.
Yes. Okay. That's what I heard. Rundown of a 3-hour movie. How do we go about this? Okay. This is how I'm going to try to do this, and you tell me if it's good enough or not good enough. Okay. So this movie is about a man named Odysseus. He was I guess a general, kind of a king of the Trojans, and he led the Trojans to the Trojan horse scheme to take down Troy. After he does that, when he tries to go home, he ends up getting lost, and he ends up going through a bunch of different trials and tribulations. He ends up having to fight giants and be locked in a cave. He ends up having to meet a witch. He ends up meeting, having to go to an island where he talks to dead people, and they give him a prophecy that's like, hey, all of your men are going to die. If you go to the Sea of Monsters, he goes through the Sea of Monsters, and some of his men do die. He goes through dealing with mermaids, or sirens as they're called in this one. The sirens in their call, has to survive through that. Gets stranded on an island with a beautiful goddess for years, and then eventually is able to return home. While he has been gone this entire time, his home has been infiltrated and taken over by suitors and a bunch of men who want to fuck his wife. Now, to be fair, his wife is played by Anne Hathaway, so I'm coming to the party too if she's picking one of us. So the bad part about this is that they're trying to take over the kingdom. Once she chooses a suitor, they're going to become the new king. So if he's dead, then his son, Tom Holland, gets to be king. And that's probably how I'm going to refer to most people in this movie, by the way, because I can't remember the real names of the movie for shit. But they're all so famous, I don't have to. Tom Holland is Odysseus' son, and Matt Damon is Odysseus. He's the only one we can remember because he's named after the movie. And he could become king if Odysseus is dead, but he doesn't know for sure. So while we're getting all of the story of what's happening to Odysseus and all of the trials that he's going through to try and get home, we're also kind of going through his son's perspective of everything and how he's trying to find his father or find out if he's dead or not, and how all of these suitors are working together to try and kill him. So then we get towards the end of the movie, and Odysseus finally comes home, but he comes home in secret and in private. He talks to his son, and he's like, hey, here's what's going on. So the plan is we got to get rid of all of these, suitors, who, by the way, all belong to prominent families all over the kingdoms. So if we kill them all, which is the plan, we'll be exiled, and that's going to be a big no-no to kill a bunch of rich kids. And so they have to do this in order to protect their kingdom, to protect the queen, and to assert dominance over these other kingdoms. And that's what they end up doing. He comes home, he reveals himself while they're doing a trial to see who's going to be the next king, and he ends up fighting a bunch of people in a room. He goes all Jason Bourne on them and fucking kills a bunch of people, and then they bow to him. He does get exiled, and the end of the movie is him and Anne Hathaway riding off into the sunset. That is the best way I can run down a 3-hour-long movie.
Yes. I think you did a good job.
Let's get into some of so we I think in spoiler-free talk, we talked enough about the stuff we didn't like, because really what it just comes down to is some of the technical aspects, some of the editing was really bad, some of the camera work was not good, the focus was not good. There were shots that were they tried to pull focus and they didn't land it and they kept it in the movie. That's as much as I'm going to be willing to bitch about the movie. Okay, because this movie is a movie that does deserve some praise.
Yeah, I'll bitch if we're getting all of our bitches out I didn't like the design of the Cyclops.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. The fact that it was just like a guy with a sideways eye.
Yeah, it looked really goofy to me. We started laughing. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because it was like,
yeah,
or something, and then it was like, this is just a guy. It's supposed to be a horrifying scene, and it took away from it being scary, I guess. I just didn't like it. I think there's worse ways you could have done it, but I also think there's better ways you could have done it.
Right.
That's how I feel.
I think the Giants were cool, though.
Giants were sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to get that out of the way.
Speaking of the Giants, did you want to talk about your least favorite performance in the whole movie?
My least favorite performance of the whole movie was a kid. It was a kid on the island of giants that they end up washing upon shore of. They find a kid. It's a weird reveal. They just find someone with their back turned toward them. They're in armor. And they're like, "Hello, sir. We come in peace." And he says, "I have no interest in what you come in." Okay, let me take that again.
You proud of yourself? You happy with yourself?
No, I'm actually very ashamed. This is how my brain works. It's a fucking sickness, okay? You should feel sorry for me. And then the person in armor turns around and it ends up being a kid. And the kid looks CGI, digitally imposed into the armor. It's a weird fucking uncanny valley look. And then he's like, "I'm a kid. Help!" And it's the worst performance in the movie by a Roman mile, a Roman kilometer, if you will. It was horrible. It was horrible. And it's one of those things that breaks the immersion of the movie so badly that I was like, I'm looking around the theater like, are you guys fucking watching this? Get this out of the fucking movie. But then it leads to a really cool sequence of a bunch of giants. It was sick. I guess my last moment to bitch about the movie was the one historical accuracy thing that actually bothered me throughout the film. It was the choice to have American accents be the accents of the movie. It shouldn't matter that much if you write around it. However, there are scenes of them pulling up to an island. I don't know the exact line of dialogue, I don't remember, but there are scenes of them pulling up to an island and introducing themselves and them going, "Hello, we're from Greece. We're from Ithaca."
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is fucking awful. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Odysseus.
Yeah, I'm like, this is awful. I'm sorry, but this is the part that takes me out of it completely. And I'm like, what the
Especially
fuck?
because half of the actors in this movie are actually British. And it's like, if you wanted to even do British accents, it would have been better, I guess.
Maybe. I don't know if that would have worked either. It was just
Yorgos should have made this movie.
Yorgos, man.
My goat.
Can you imagine how fucking weird
Brother, I don't want to see what Yorgos does for
Me
Cyclops.
either.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. With Yorgos said, yeah, I mean, I want to talk about some of my favorite elements of this movie, and it was the elements of horror. Like the horror scenes are so good in this movie. And one of the absolute best ones is when they come upon the witch.
Yes.
The witch scene is so fucking good.
Cersei. I remember them saying her name because I was like, there's another Cersei?
There's another, that's a thing. Maybe they're similar. And
That's how you should have known she was bad from the start.
Yeah.
She said her name's Cersei.
So they come upon this island that only has one house on it, and it's a witch, and she forces the men to eat this food that ends up incapacitating them while she turns them into animals. And the way that she does it is so fucking cool and grimy and
awesome.
disgusting. And like, she's like molding their faces. Like, she's grabbing their faces and pulling them out, sticking her fingers into their mouths and pulling their jaws out to make it into a snout. And she's like turning them into pigs and like pulling, she like massages their head and pulls their ears out and it sticks. It's like, it's fucking visceral and disgusting. And it's really scary too, like to a certain degree. And like, I fucking loved that sequence so much.
Too.
It was so cool. And it's like, yeah, when you hear about like a witch in an ancient Greek mythology version of her, it was done so fucking well. And it looked so cool.
Yeah, I loved this. Yeah, this is the body horror I was talking about. Seeing them get transformed into pigs. Then you do some really clever, I really appreciated the clever simplicity of them being turned back into men after he eventually confronts her. I loved because they just kind of, you see a pig on the right, but then they kind of pivot the camera around the silhouette of her legs which then blocks it off, and then you just do kind of a Texas switch, and then have the guy. I think it's just really clever, and it was like, oh, this does look real. It looks like it's happening.
Yeah.
Even though you know what's going on. I love the reveal too. I just thought the reveal was really fun. Of like the reveal for both parties. Of you see her start to turn them into this horrific scene, like you said, of her transforming. Got that. Them into pigs. And then also we cut back to the B story of Odysseus trying to find food for them, and he shoots was it an antelope or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like a deer or something.
And then he stumbles upon it and sees it is now a human that he has shot. And so, especially because when they first come onto the land, they see a lion, and then they see a tiger, and then they're seeing a bunch of different animals
and a wardrobe,
and then you're like, oh my god, these are all people chilling. So really cool. You get the horror with the Cyclops scene as well. That's very horror to me.
Oh wait, real quick, just one thing I want to mention about that scene is something very clever that adds so much tension and like edge of your seat type of thing. Is she tells the men, she goes, well, you got to put your armor and weapons out back, and then when they go out back, you can see like half buried armor and weapons that have the grass growing over them, and you're like, holy shit, this is bad. Like,
which really does speak to their intelligence and desperation in this. Yeah, that they, even if maybe they're so stupid and just dumb men type shit that they're like whatever, or maybe they're so desperate that they have intuition. They're like, dude, I'm fucking starving. Like, so it's good storytelling. I like that as well. Yeah, the Cyclops sequence is very horror as well. It's a lot of like figures in the shadows that you're barely able to make out, and then you're like, "Whoa, what the?" And then you feel the stakes. You feel this scary jump scare type shit. There's a jump scare when they talk about. I'm assuming we're kind of just focusing on the horror aspects right now.
Yeah,
the jump scare that they do with Benny Safdie's character explaining what happened when he went home. He says, "Yeah, I went home and." Earlier in the film, we are told that Benny Safdie's character sacrificed his own daughter for fairer winds so that he can
sail the sea.
And that's important to know because he starts talking about how when he went home, what happened was there's a jump scare where he says, I went home and my wife was mad at me for sacrificing our daughter, so she murdered me. And
she's kind of being a bitch when you think about it.
And I'll get to how he's able to tell that story because that was the other part of horror I wanted to mention. And when he does that, he's mid kind of you know what it reminded me of? The jump scare reminded me so much of The Ring, the American remake, when the mom is talking about finding her daughter in the closet, and she's like, "Yeah, but you didn't see her face." Cut to opening the closet and that fucking horrific face falling down and doing the jump scare.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar in this. And he's like, yeah, she was not happy with me. Boom, loud audio jump scare of her going, ah, and stabbing him in the throat with maybe a dagger. It is the old times. I don't know, a knife.
Everyone's got a dagger. Every knife was a dagger.
Now, yes, the reason that he's telling this story is because they are told that they must travel to the land of Hades. This is visually my favorite part of the movie. Just visually.
Right.
The land of Hades sequence was fucking incredible. It looked so good. I will say, too, this was another moment of real buy-in to the emotional aspect because
of Elliot Page's dialogue?
Not even just that. But that is part of it for sure.
Because I thought that was one of the best performances in the movie.
Me too.
Was Elliot Page coming back as a undead person, like coming from the dead and then confronting Odysseus. I was like, damn, bro, like you fucked up. Like you're kind of an asshole.
It was one of the better performances. I was really locked into the movie here because it was the whole concept of the dead being able to tell you stuff like that and this is like, so one of my biggest issues with the movie too in terms of buy-in is how clean everyone looked. Everyone had Botox, everyone had lip filler, everyone had teeth looked perfect. They were very clean.
Right.
But this was where they're just covered in mud and soot. It looked like it's crazy. They look like the dead should look. I loved this visual.
Yeah.
So it was, and it's just so, this is what I said, it was like, it's almost like gothic. It's just this very fucking dark gothic vibe. And I love the guy coming out of the ground too. I don't remember his name,
Yeah.
but like him.
I remember
and
hearing
his performance was like great.
I heard his name and I recognized it as like one of the servants of Hades that is like in the God of War series and stuff like that. So,
Oh, cool.
And I think that he's mentioned in Hercules as well, if I remember. But yeah, I forget his name too.
Yeah, it was great. Him being like half out of the ground in this puddle of water and mud, and
Tyrell, is that his name?
it was really, really cool. And yeah, this sequence was awesome. But I think what really got me emotionally was the finale to this sequence. It was the dead then start chasing them as a threat, and they get on the ship and they get far enough away, and then you get a shot of the horizon of that land that they had just left. It's real foggy, and you see how many bodies there are.
Yeah. And these are supposed to represent both the men that they have lost in their, war efforts and the men they have killed in their war efforts. And you just see like the impact of war.
This endless horizon of bodies trapped for eternity in here.
Yeah.
That was so impactful emotionally to me, that shot. I was like, golly, this is like...
Especially as like,
similar.
all the lives lost is weighing on Odysseus, and which gets me to one of my favorite story elements of this movie. This movie has a lot of really good story elements, and doing this thing where we're kind of going through Odysseus remembering, he's slowly remembering everything, is we get this really incredible character arc for him. This arc of going from, this guy who and by the way, we're hearing all these stories about him. We're hearing all these, tales of how great he was. And then you see him like lose faith in himself as a leader, lose faith in himself as someone who, people looked up to. And so it's like people still look up to him like he's this great hero, but you watch all these awful things that he blames himself for. And some of them are his fault and some of them aren't. But you like understand the weight of all the loss that he's been going through. And I love the way that they go through it. And I think that the absolute best element of storytelling was something I did not see coming at all. Okay. At the very beginning of the movie, one of the things that that Tom Holland brings up is the Zeus's law. So they say that Zeus's law is that you have to treat others as you would want to be treated, and they invite beggars into the kingdom in order to feed them, because Zeus's law is that any person, a beggar on the street, could be a god in disguise, and so you never want to shame or beat or dishonor the beggars, right? Because they could always be a god in disguise. So Tom Holland's character and Odysseus and all these people, they really, really believe in this law. They really believe in this idea. And so one of the things that is happening is that throughout the movie, you're seeing Odysseus, he sees visions of Athena, this goddess that they all worship, that they all, think is the person who brings them good luck and the person who watches over them and that they love and appreciate, right? And it's not until the very end of the movie. So he sees her over and over and over again. Every time he does some bad shit, she shows up and is like, hey, stop doing bad shit. Every time he's like conflicted about a feeling or an emotion, she shows up and is like, hey, don't forget about all the bad shit you've done and you need to do better. And at the very end of the movie, we get this, long scene of Matt Damon or, Odysseus talking to his wife, for the first time. And she does not know that he is Odysseus at this time. And he can see Athena. This is played by Zendaya, by the way. He can see Athena, and he's telling the story about everything that he did wrong, kind of in third person because he's pretending to not be Odysseus. And they show that as they were destroying Troy, as they were storming the gates and killing all of the people in Troy, at one point they grab a beggar off of the street and hold her arms out, and it was Zendaya. And they grab her and they hold her arms out and cut her head off. And so it's like, I did not see that coming, that this woman that he's been staring at as Athena has been coming to him because they grabbed her off the street and beheaded her. Mm-hmm. So this idea of Zeus's law is like so real. Like she was a goddess in disguise, and she has judged them and judged him and all of his things that he has done badly because he watched them break that law. They broke this sacred bond between man, and ever since then, the whole kingdom has been in disarray. Now nobody respects anybody. Nobody shows kindness to anybody. Nobody welcomes people into their home and feeds them. Nobody is respecting the beggars of the these kingdoms, because they broke the most sacred law. They broke into Troy and they killed everyone. And they just said, fuck Zeus's law. We're going to come here and we're going to destroy this place. And so like he's felt cursed ever since then. So that reveal, I thought, was one of the best elements of storytelling in the movie, because it really shows the depths of which his grief towards the bad things that he has done is. Mm-hmm. That he saw visions of her after he watched them get killed, and he really does believe in this Zeus's law thing. So it's like it's been eating away at him that he was part of this, that he was not only part of it, but it's like they didn't just trick them with this Trojan horse. They tricked him using Zeus's law against them, saying this is a gift for Athena. This is for you to have, and they used it to wage war. Yeah,
like they happily accepted it, took it into their homes, trusted us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's what I meant when I was referring to the third act finally giving you something to relate to as a universal human emotion. And it's both the his unraveling of having to come to terms with his wrongdoings and learning along the way in this whole journey of, so that's what in the film itself, showing you the whole sequence of them taking over Troy early in the movie, and it being this very big action sequence, and being like, yeah.
And being told from the perspective of a warrior.
Yeah, like
not from Odysseus, but another guy, from John Bernthal's character.
It's a good trick. It's a good trick on the audience, because you are like, yes, and then they show it in a different perspective at the end, going, look at what actually you were rooting for.
Yeah, like John Bernthal tells this story about how Odysseus is killing guards left and right, and they snuck into this place, and these, we were suffering in this horse, and we watched our men die, and all because we were going to starve to death because we washed up on an island, and the city of Troy would not let us in, wouldn't let us go and eat and and live. So fuck them, we're going to destroy them. So that's why they built this wooden horse. It's this whole story, right? So from John Bernthal's character, from his perspective, it's, yeah, we broke in, we kicked a bunch of ass. Mm-hmm. And then when you hear it from Odysseus, it's like, we killed a bunch of women and children. Like when John Bernthal's telling the story, all you see are guards in armor coming to kill them, and they kill them back. And it's not until you hear it from Odysseus' version that you see all of the women and children that were killed too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of my favorite storytelling elements of the movie. Now, I personally am a sucker for Chosen One stories. Mm-hmm. I love them. I love Harry Potter. I love the moment when Harry Potter, grabs Voldemort and says, come on, Tom, let's finish this together, whatever. I love the moment when Aang goes into the Avatar state while he's fighting the Fire Lord. I love the moment where Neo puts his hand up and stops all of the bullets when the Chosen One returns and the Chosen One shows everyone why they are the Chosen One. I love it. I say I'm a sucker for it because it's so cliche and it's like cheesy and like it's just a cheap way to build hype. But when they did it in this movie, I fucking loved it. The way they hyped up Odysseus to be this, he's just the GOAT. He if he were here, he would destroy all these fucking these beggars, all these fucking rich boys that think they're hot shit. If Odysseus was here, he would kick all y'all's ass. If Odysseus was here, he would take down 5 of you fucking guys. If he was here, and then he shows up and he goes fucking John Wick on these bitches. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, I fucking hate these guys. They've been like pieces of shit the whole movie. They're kicking a fucking dog and throwing him on a fucking heap pile of shit, and they're beating up on an old man, and they're just like waiting for the chance to kill Tom Holland any chance they get, and all while they're just begging fucking this woman to have sex with them. Like, I was just like, I hate these guys. So when he comes in and he kicks everyone's ass, I was like, hell fucking right. Odysseus is him, bro.
I remember YMS, I think it was YMS talking about The Last of Us 2. And he had a real issue with their blatant emotional manipulation. And I felt that a little bit in this too, where I was like, all right, they're doing how do we make these guys be bad so that you can be satisfied when they get killed in the end? It's like, have them kick a dog. It's like, all right.
Let's relax.
Have them pick on an old blind man and just fucking desecrate him. I'm like, all right, they're really going far.
Let's have them kill a bunch of priests and pretend to be them while they poison people and try to kill you. It's like, I can't wait for these fucking
they do it well because I can't fucking wait to see, honestly.
I loved a lot of how they built it, these characters' performances, these bad guys, because there's the one who, the guy, I don't know this actor's name, but he was like a lot younger looking. And I was like, bro, this guy looks like a fucking Ben Shapiro listener type dude. And he just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I hate these guys. And they performed it really well as like these villains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Robert Pattinson's performance he does a really good job of playing a just conniving, pathetic, weak, but putting on a show to seem brave and strong and dangerous. And I thought it was like outright comedic, the sequence where they have one of their little double agent guys is in the weapon room, and he puts a hole in the ceiling after getting trapped to feed them weapons to try and fight Odysseus. And they'll drop a certain weapon and they'll cut to Robert Pattinson going, "Spears, grab the spears." And then they'll drop swords, and then it'll cut to Robert Pattinson hiding behind a pillar again going, "Swords, grab the swords." And it's just this very comedic, it was kind of weird. But it was kind of funny. It was just this comedic, like, look at him hiding behind the pillar, telling everyone else to go do something.
Yeah. They also revealed kind of like who he was as a person by the fact that, and again, I was a little bit confused by this storyline because maybe I wasn't paying attention well enough, but it seemed like he was from a wealthy family. His dad paid another family to volunteer in his place to go to the war. So he was supposed to go to war. He got drafted, essentially through this lottery system. But his family says, we'll pay you guys a bunch of money if you send your son instead. Well, their son is who Elliot Page plays.
Right.
So, they die at the very beginning of this, whole scheme because they pull up on him at the Trojan horse, and he's the only one who is outside of it and doesn't even know that these guys are in the Trojan horse. So not only does he die, but he gets killed thinking that everyone had abandoned him and, whatever. So, it was just like a really bad fate for this kid. And so the fact that, when Elliot comes back and is talking to Odysseus, he's like, yeah, I was supposed to get all this money. My family was supposed to be taken care of, and they weren't. They didn't keep their promises, So he gives Odysseus this, like, the thing that they used to do the draft, and says, give this to whatever his face is, Robert Pattinson's character, to make him live his shame or whatever for being a pussy. So I love that in that, final sequence, he's like, oh, he's a coward. He's someone who, first of all, offered to pay money to not go to war and then didn't even follow up on that. So yeah, I think that another one of my favorite sequences in the movie was the sirens, because of how they're like, I've never seen it portrayed this way. I've never seen, siren sounds kind of, it's always, they play the song. They're like, what kind of sound would you hear if you were near sirens? And they always play, whatever. And it's like, this was way different. They covered all of the men's ears with wax, and the only person who could hear it was Matt Damon, Odysseus, and he's just being tied to the mast of the ship and is screaming in pain. Mm-hmm. And he like describes it to them. I was like, I like that because it's
very smart choice.
Yeah, it's kind of like, back when during Shakespeare's plays, he would have people run off screen to do violent actions because he would say whatever you're imagining in your head is way worse than anything we can show on stage.
Right.
So I think that that's a very similar concept in this one, that you don't ever hear the siren song. You only hear how Odysseus describes it. And it's a lot better for us to imagine a sound that hurts your body physically because of how much it beckons you to have everything you've ever wanted and what you can never have.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the choice to both show his live in real time reaction to it, but then also have the way that it was written of him describing it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Loved it. And the whole filmmaking aspect of it, of having, how like he puts some wax in his left ear and the left channel of audio goes out muffled, and then eventually the right. It was so cool. I just love like shit like that when they do that in movies. It's really, really when they do it well. Obviously, it's
right.
Really cool. So that was very interesting as well. And yeah, they did that sequence perfectly. You're right. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, I'm so used to the like just this very ethereal sound, but it's like, no, this take is great. I love this. So that was very interesting. And there are some scenes too of we were talking about some of the sound mixing being rough. It was some scenes that were honestly overstimulating, of lightning happening and the waves and the boat getting torn apart, and it was so loud and so flashes of lightning that I couldn't look at the screen. I will say, like, the immersion was pretty decently high for that.
Yeah.
So there's just so many shots of the sea that feel so real, and it's like, oh yeah, because they're on the fucking sea, because it's Christopher Nolan.
Right.
I love the candlelight and firelight setting of Troy. It reminded me of it gave me like similar vibes to how satisfying the sequences in The Northman were, of them storming the villages.
Yeah.
I thought it,
or even some of Game of Thrones at times.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Yeah, when they're taking down some of the archers on the wall in Troy, I was like, this is very. What do they call them? The Night Watch or something? I don't remember. So it was just like. Yeah, it was very similar to that. But yeah, these sequences that were done so well. I do have to shout out, my favorite performance in the whole movie was Anne Hathaway. I thought every scene she was in, she fucking ate. She ate it up. She stole every scene she was in. And that is just so impressive after having seen Devil Wears Prada 2, where she could have been anyone. Like, it's just seeing her really get to act her ass off was awesome. I love the dynamic between her and her son, because I like this growing anger and almost resentment a little bit for, like, in her character going, you're just a fucking kid. Fuck you. Like, I just love it. She's like, you think you deserve any of this? What if I deserve this? I just love that perspective.
Like, God forbid. We need someone to fill this throne that I've been running this shit for 20 fucking years. Yeah. And y'all think another man has to come here? Fuck y'all. Yeah. You know? I was, and like, her calling out her son's naivete and going, hey, like, it is a real mom moment of going, look, you are a kid. You don't know shit. Listen to me when I talk. Yeah. And stop thinking you know everything and have a right to everything. Like, please listen to me. You are such a child. Like, I loved it. And yeah, she was just great. And it's in subtle ways too. It wasn't just the over, like, you know, like, I am your mother. I was thinking Tony Collette. But you talk to me like that, you little shit.
That little face on your face. I just love the subtle moments too. These very quiet moments of her reacting to Odysseus' story, even when as they speak between. I love the composition of them speaking through that little screen door. Yeah. There are moments where she gets to act very subtly as well, and she just nails it on all of her scenes. She is so good. I loved her performance in this movie, and it was very needed, because I will say Odysseus' character, and this interpretation of Odysseus, maybe, I don't know, is very stale. And I say that, like, as without trying to sound mean, but it's just very, like, I guess, stoic. Yeah. There's no emotion, really. It's very calm, cool, collected. Like, when he's talking, he's like, yes, and then my men died. There's no, like, and there's no getting choked up. There's no, my men died. There's no, like, it's just, yeah, my men died. I'm Odysseus. Like, it's just so calm and stoic that it was nice to have some, like, real powerful performances from her.
Yeah, anything you guys hear in the background, my wife is preparing to have company over in like an hour, so just so y'all know. I mean, there's not much more that we can say about this movie. I mean, I didn't love the design of the Cyclops, but I loved how they did this. It was one of my favorite representations of sirens that I've ever seen, which is like, that's something that's important for this movie. Is nothing that is in this movie has never been done before. The Odyssey has been inspiration for so many stories throughout the years, so many adaptations of it, so many interpretations of it. Even some of the elements of the Odyssey, like just the concept of sirens, the concept of Cyclops, this concept of sea monsters, like all these things has, they've been done before. And so, having a new, fresh, creative perspective on that, I thought was really good. And I personally, I loved the ending of the movie. I know, like I said, I'm a sucker for the Chosen One story. So I loved watching him kick everybody's ass, and I loved watching him kill Robert Pattinson. It was awesome.
I had a lot of fun in that sequence as well.
As far as, the other thing, well, there's one thing, when Odysseus is like trying to regain his memory, he's trying to regain his memory so that he can realize he needs to go home, but he's been trapped on an island hanging out with, Charlize Theron the whole time. And I was like, you really want to get home that bad, brother? Come on, man. Put me on that island. I'll bitch less than this guy.
If I knew I had Anne Hathaway at home, I'm Team Anne on that one. Sorry.
If you knew. He didn't know. He didn't know.
Calypso is one of the...
Calypso.
Was that her name?
Fucking Mingin.
Fucking Minging.
Minging.
So I just grabbed this new Calypso Paradise Punch.
Suck it, Dad.
Suck your dad. It's fucking minging.
It's one of my favorite videos ever. Calypso's character was one of the ones where I was like, it was too like Botox lip filler look, where I was like, this woman's stranded on an island. Like, I'm just like, I don't believe any of this.
She's the sun goddess.
A lot of these characters are too clean for my liking. They're just so clean.
Yeah, a lot of the men from the ship were way, way too clean in every scene, despite being lost at sea for 7 years, whatever.
Yeah, there's just a lot of... I do want to shout out Tom Holland, by the way.
Yeah?
I thought he did a great job of his character. I think if you have a problem with his performance in this movie, I think you have more so a problem with his character, because his character is supposed to be the way he... I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. I love Tom Holland. Y'all know me. I'm a big Spider-Man guy.
Yeah,
so
I just thought he was really good in this. I remember seeing him in The Devil all the time and going, damn, this kid can act. And so it's nice to get reminded of that,
Yeah.
I guess it really, I believe that he is a high school student when I watch Spider-Man, so I guess he is he has one of the better American accents I've heard.
Yeah, and he's a short king, so it helps when he has to play a younger character.
I wish my short ass looked like that, though.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah.
Emphasis on the king part, I guess. But yeah, there's not much more that I want to say about this. I
do want to say, like, I guess I didn't fully finish my thought, but when I really emotionally related to the movie and him talking about his regret of what he's done, the actual perspective of the horrific atrocities he's committed was very emotional, but it was also him communicating to her the passage of time and not being able to have that back. And I thought that was very poignant, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Another thing I do want to mention, though, is that the music in this movie is really, really good, as it always is for Christopher Nolan. The way that they use the musical score in the action sequences to build that tension. Now, Christopher Nolan loves a Shepherd's Stone. Like, that's his favorite fucking thing. He uses it in almost every movie. It does build tension really well, and the way that he increases, the
tempo.
Yeah, it raises the tempo of the music as it gets more and more intense. Absolutely loved that. The sequences where they're breaking into Troy and waging war were so amplified by the music and the sound design that they chose. I thought it worked really, really well, and I enjoyed it. The
Odyssey.
My favorite part of this movie. Like I say, it was the witch sequence of her turning the men into pigs. It was really, really cool and visceral and kind of Infinity Pool-esque, this, body horror. I loved it. My least favorite part of this movie are the technical mistakes, the out of focus shots, the bad editing, the bad continuity. All those things should be perfect in a movie like this. There's no reason why they could not have just taken another take and gotten that focus pull. There's just, I expect more from Christopher Nolan, so I have less leeway to give him any grace when it comes to that stuff. A low budget film with a couple of people making everything on digital, fine. Christopher Nolan, you have no excuse.
Yeah, my favorite. I really do think I said visually, but I really do think my favorite sequence of the movie was the Land of Hades. I just loved it. It was you pointing out, like Elliot Page had one of the best performances in the movie. It's like, oh yeah, that whole speech was great. And then even getting to see what ended up happening to Benny Safdie's character, and that being a pivotal part of the movie, of him warning Odysseus, hey, when you return home, you might not want to just be like, hi, I'm home, and expect praise. You need to go and really see what it looks like now. And that was another part I actually related to emotionally, of the concept of what if life is a little bit better without me there? Like, that's such a hard thing to grapple with. So the concept of that, is interesting. I can't believe I have to admit, I'm so glad I'm remembering this before we leave too. One of the saddest parts of the whole movie that almost made me actually cry was they forced the dog to sleep outside on this little pile of rocks, and
He's on a pile of shit.
Oh, they forced this dog to sleep outside on a pile of shit. I thought it was rocks. Dave just informed me it's a pile of shit.
They told him to put him on the dung heap.
Oh, okay.
So it's all of the animal feces and human feces that have been dug up. That's what.
Again, they really make the evil people really evil.
Yeah.
And so Odysseus returns in disguise, but happens upon his dog. And the dog, like, haphazardly, barely from what it can muster, like, wags its tail and then passes away peacefully. I almost fucking cried.
Just because it was waiting for
It was just waiting on it on
Odysseus to come home.
on his owner to return. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking cry, man. That was, and that's also what then makes Tom Holland realize you're Odysseus, you're my father.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's just such a sad moment. But yeah, the Land of Hades was my favorite part of the movie. My least favorite part of the movie was the same thing as you, but I didn't notice some of the out of focus shots as much. I did notice that horrific editing sequence. I thought that editing sequence was, and Travis Scott. We didn't even mention his name.
Yeah, that was the opening that Dan was talking about. That
He's
was
like
just a celebrity name.
He
Must
goes,
be good.
Doom, doom. A man. Doom, doom. A ship. Doom, doom. A fleet. Like I'm the stalest, most stiff performance.
2K my career.
Yeah, Dave said it was like a 2K My Player sequence, and I was like, oh my god, that's exactly the kind of acting it is. Awful. Please cast someone else in that. Yeah, so there's some bad stuff. The editing sequence was the one that I was like, this is fucking awful. Made me mad. But yeah, I mean, how do you score this, Dave? How do you score a movie like this?
I mean, genuinely for me, again, I'm just like, I think the movie did a lot of stuff really well. I don't think the story is very unique in any particular way, especially because it is an adaptation of something that's been adapted 1,000 times. So for me, I'm leaning towards a 7. Like that's where I'm landing. It's a good movie. I mean, maybe 7.5. But again, it's like if I had to watch this movie or Project Hail Mary again, I would go Project Hail Mary. I had more fun with that movie.
Sure.
And I connected to it a little bit more. So, yeah, I think I'm going to stick with 7.
That's what I've been struggling with. It's hard to rate because, yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, if I had to watch, I was thinking of recent movies I watched. So I'm like, if I had to watch this again or The Invite, I would choose The Invite. So it's really difficult. And it's also so similar to Oppenheimer and its like technical achievements and even like the story of a guy regretting what he had done and like, oh my God, what have I become and what have I created with this? It's so similar in that regard. But even then it's like, I think about Oppenheimer and if I had to watch any sequence out of both of these movies, again, I would choose Oppenheimer, the big song from that movie that everyone remembers and him seeing like all the science in his head. I loved that scene. That's like semena.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's so, and I gave that, if I remember, we might have to check the Schmatalog, but I think I gave that a 7.5, which is what I usually land on for a lot of these epic, massive films like Dune 2 and, stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, this is
chicks at the same time.
This is doing 2 chicks at the same time. This is a technical achievement and it's an incredible theater experience, but also this story and / this movie is not something I'll revisit very often. Boy, oh boy. I'm just gonna go with the 7 out of 10. You have to give it its flowers, its lotus flowers. Ooh. For that was such an on cinema thing. I give this 5 bags of popcorn and a little lotus flower. I just really, it is such an achievement and it's so good in a lot of ways, but it's just not a story I connect to. It's not a story I'm going to seek out often. It's not a movie that I'm going to be just so jazzed to rewatch, but there are sequences that I would be jazzed to rewatch. So yeah. 7 out of 10 is fine. I don't know. It's a hard freaking movie to score.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's going to be it for this episode. No part 2 because we did have other plans today and we had to watch a 3-hour fucking movie to do this review. So yeah, but we'll be back probably for Spider-Man. I don't know about next week, so I'm sorry that we took such a long break and now we're going to potentially take another long break, but a weekend break. But yeah, so if you want to get involved in the conversation, let us know what you thought of this movie. If you went to go see it, let us know what you thought of this episode. If you listened all the way through, we are at Wild Dream Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Also, you can come and watch us stream. You can come and ask me to tell you guys all about Supergirl and come hang out with us over there. We are at Wild Dream Stream on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. But until next time, we love you. We kiss you. Good night.